It's no secret that YouTube is and always has been an unsafe place for children to roam. Many of you are likely familiar with Elsagate, the controversy revolving around weird and inappropriate YouTube videos using characters like Elsa and Spider-Man in compromising positions, violent scenarios, and oddly persistent amounts of material. Elsagate is very well known, and that's for a reason. After a while, the mainstream media caught on to the story and started covering it, leading to awful press for YouTube. This led the company to address the issue, purging thousands of channels and establishing new restrictions around children's content. This worked, but only for a limited time, as Elsagate evolved and transformed. Instead of using generally popular characters like princesses and superheroes, the new iteration of Elsagate uses whatever characters are popular with children on the internet. Some of these videos are animated, some are live action, and some are a mix between the two. This new version of Elsagate has splintered off into its own new subgenres, some more graphic than the others. But here's the thing. In the past, Elsagate has been restricted to the confines of budget. It was pretty much either cheap animation or live action videos. But in the age of AI, whatever sick prompt you can think of can become a visual reality within seconds. So join me as we take a look at Elsagate 3.0. On January 13th, 2025, YouTuber Bittersnake uploaded a video discussing a strange YouTube channel by the name of Cute Cat AI. When looking at this channel, its general theme becomes immediately evident. The vast majority of the thumbnails depict a cat in a horribly gory state, often depicting their stomachs cracked open with guts and blood spilling out of them. You may think that this is just clickbait, shocking imagery to lure in a viewer where the actual video ends up being innocuous, but unfortunately, that's not the case. When actually examining the contents of these videos, you'll find that many, if not all of them, are short stories, often in the form of cautionary tales. While the story's played out, a cat version of a popular song plays. Think that popular cover of Billie Eilish's song What Was I Made For, where all the lyrics are replaced with meow. Anyway, these little stories often portray a kitten or a pregnant cat woman partaking in seemingly innocuous actions or tasks. However, while partaking in this action, the character will get horribly injured in some way, with the result being their stomach being cracked open, with either a mix of blood and guts pulling out, or babies who wriggle and writhe in the stomach. Every single thing in these videos is AI generated. The dialogue, visuals, stories, and most of the music are all poorly created by generative AI, leading to the plot lines to be incredibly hard to follow and inconsistent. The channel had amassed 35,000 subscribers at the time of writing, with their most popular being Pregnant Cat Was Betrayed Because She Was Too Rich. This video plays off the classic formula of OG Elsagate: pregnant, overly sexualized character in a shocking and violent situation. Going back to Bittersnake's video, he covers two channels titled Mikumi Channel and Dumiku Channel. These channels upload basically the same horrific videos, only they tend to be double the length of the Cute Cat AI channels. Here we see more vomit, bugs, urine, and parental abuse, just like all the other channels who do this. The videos are all, again, compilations of horribly written AI stories, with visuals playing them out. Both of these channels link to each other and have very similar branding and aesthetics, which leads one to believe that they're owned by the same person or people. This only gets further confirmed when looking at each respective channel's community tab, but what's really fascinating is the pictures that they provide. Judging by the surroundings, it appears as though the channel's based in China, despite their channel details claiming that they're based in the United States. When looking at the Mikumi channel, you'll also find pictures of the team. One of the pictures showing a woman looking at the channel's YouTube studio page, while the other appears to be looking at a thumbnail preview website. The second picture appears to show a worker using AI to generate a script, while the woman next to him seems to be generating imagery. You can barely make out the shape of one of these little creepy cats on the square. What's absolutely fascinating though is the next community post showing off the team. Look familiar? That's the same picture as the post from Dumiku. So there we go. Proof that these channels are operated by the same people. But what else does this tell us? Clearly, this is a content farm, in the most pure way possible. These people probably aren't getting paid much, but their job is to pump out and slap together as much traumatizing slop as humanly possible. It's safe to say that the Cute Cat AI channel was doing the exact same thing. It goes far beyond these few channels. And honestly, it's kind of absurd just how many of these channels exist, that all pretty much upload the same exact content. I've seen multiple of the same plot points reused, almost beat for beat. A common one used throughout many of these channels is a young kitten playing outside and dragging mud in. The kitten eats and ends up consuming some sort of virus or infection from the mud, which leads to some really vile imagery of the cat vomiting a variety of things. Bile, worms, guts, and a variety of bugs and other hard to make out material is shown. It's some genuinely really nasty imagery. Another genuinely absurd detail on the majority of these channels is how sexualized the female cats are. Some of these genuinely look like they were designed by furries, which is just so odd. These sexualized cat women are often pregnant, with that being a crucial part of the plot of the videos. To anyone familiar with Elsagate, this is probably sending off alarm bells in your head. An ever-present theme in almost every iteration of Elsagate is a big focus on pregnancy, whether that be relevant to the plot of the video or not. You'd often see Elsa or Spider-Man pregnant, with their distended stomachs given immense focus, and nowadays it's incredibly easy to find characters like Pomni or female characters from any kid-focused franchises, like Poppy Playtime, all inexplicably pregnant. But why? Why is this such a focus? And why has it been since the very beginning? There are two main perceptions of this, one definitely being more disturbing than the other. The more innocent theory is that pregnancy and the other often fetishized bodily functions and parts of the body are used in these videos simply to lure their young audience in. To a kid who doesn't really know what's going on, pregnancy is weird, feet are just funny, and people playing with excrement is just comedic. Essentially, these channels could be playing on the fascination of the unknown and the taboo, which is a completely valid theory, and would explain a lot of what's going on here. However, the more commonly agreed upon consensus is a much more sinister and disturbing notion. Many who have investigated Elsagate and have spent substantial time analyzing the content have come to the conclusion that this focus on these specific things is because the creators of this content, at least initially, were really interested in these themes and topics and inserted them into their children's content, for the sake of either their own pleasure, or worse, to instill this fetish onto the children watching. Whether or not the latter was the intent or not, it absolutely took effect, with many Gen Z individuals claiming that they have acquired these fetishes from exposure at such a developmental age. Now, an important question to ask is this still the intent? And to that, I don't think that's the case. From what I can tell, many Elsagate and Elsagate adjacent content is made purely for money and nothing else. They use disgusting and shocking content because whether we like it or not, that's what works when trying to get clicks from children. However, I do believe that it's absolutely possible that the people who establish these themes as those who are successful may have had less than innocent intent when creating this content. So even if the people in the modern times aren't intentionally trying to make fetishy content, they may be continuing a legacy of people who have had horrible intent. While this may answer why pregnancy is such a reoccurring thing in these videos, it doesn't answer why all the cat women are so sexualized. Hell, in some cases, the men are also very sexualized, which is just objectively weird considering this content is very clearly made for children, despite some of the channels claiming otherwise. There is what feels like an infinite amount of channels making these videos, and most of them have at least one video with over 1 million views. But in all honesty, these extremely high view counts are a bit suspect to me. I'm not saying anything for certain, but it's just a little bit weird that there can be a YouTube video with 16 million views and only around 600 comments. Not only that, but the majority of these comments don't really seem like they were made by real people. Many are just slightly related to the video, or a mix of random emojis and nothing else. That, and the majority of the channels that leave these comments have zero content on them. No videos, no community posts, hell, not even an about page. This leads me to speculate that these channels are using viewbots alongside widespread employment of AI comments. The dead internet theory is just our daily reality. There's no way I can allege definitively that these channels use viewbots, as the reality of these views and inconsistent engagement could be explained by the channel's target audience. Children. Kids interact with content in some pretty unique ways. Oftentimes, they watch videos on autoplay and don't engage in the comment sections, but when they do, it's often very broken English or emoji spam. Something that should also definitely be noted is that these videos don't appear on the YouTube Kids app. Oftentimes when people discuss topics related to inappropriate kids content, they often fail to note that these videos are set as not for kids, as it's far easier to be found by more viewers and you make significantly more ad revenue. As we've seen with some of these cat AI channels, they outright deny that their content is for kids in comment sections and descriptions. They can say whatever they want, but you and I both know that this content isn't for adults. It's unwatchable to anyone with a half-developed brain, so obviously the only people who could sit through this crap are those who don't know any better. Regardless, the demographic could potentially help with the insane contrast in numbers. Either way, this is extremely weird. And all of this leads me to the main question, which is why? While sometimes intent can be a little bit difficult to suss out with traditional Elsagate content, from what I've deduced, it's pretty obvious how and why these channels are doing what they do, and how and why there are so many of them. While researching this topic, I found a video by the name of How I Make $22,000 a Month AI Story Videos with ChatGPT by Dave Nick. He shows you exactly how to make one of these channels. He instructs you to make exactly the same content as the channels that are successful, since clearly they are winning formulas. His video features a Google Drive that helps you fully automate this content slot. Like, Even the channel names are AI generated. There is no human aspect to this. Dave also shows you a website where you can purchase a YouTube channel that's already viable for monetization, which essentially just means that this channel will have previously needed a minimum of 4,000 watch hours and 500 subscribers. This practice is actually fully against YouTube terms of service, meaning that all of these channels inherently are under grounds for termination if this is indeed the way that they've been made. The guy provides you with a list of prompts, shows you which websites to visit, where to find your music, and at the end he basically just tells you that this is straight up content theft.
And what I like to do is I like to go to these successful channels and I like to look into what has performed well for them, and then I try to replicate something similar. So if their most popular video is this cat over here, I will just screenshot that thumbnail. I will go back to ChatGPT, click attach the file, upload from computer, and just double click on that screenshot and say write a prompt to generate this image with Leonardo AI.
I find this practice absolutely disgusting, and it's such a trivialization of the art of content creation. What this is completely disregarding the children that this content targets. It's genuinely so soulless, and such a bastardization of the idea of YouTube. But the good news, I suppose, is that this is just good old-fashioned greed, and most likely not anything else. These cat AI channels are completely fictional. Everything involved is made with generative AI, and despite how gross and unusual they are, ultimately, it's not the worst thing you can find on the internet using child-friendly imagery. In recent times, a much more disgusting and reprehensible rabbit hole has popped up. On December 16th, 2024, I received an email warning of an odd rabbit hole on TikTok. I was live recording a podcast, so I decided to read it out for the show. What I was shown was one of the most disgusting, repulsive, and depraved rabbit holes I've found anywhere on the surface web. This is TikTok's Minion Gore epidemic. It's no secret that you can find some really shocking and depraved videos and photos throughout the internet. In the 2000s, shock sites were very common, and people were often tricked into watching the media hosted by them, while others would seek them out for the thrill of it. As the years have gone by, baiting people into watching horrific things has tapered in mainstream popularity, but in recent times people have been finding new ways to trick people into watching shock videos. A recent example is people using Twitter and TikTok to post fancy edits of various innocent things, which would then cut to something horrific. A very common video used is footage of a man by the name of Rodney McNutt taking his life on a Facebook livestream. This video is horrific and incredibly tragic, but it's been used for years as shock material. Videos using children's characters to portray horrific and inappropriate things is unfortunately a very commonly occurring thing. This cycle is continued with a new and incredibly disturbing rabbit hole that can be found shockingly easily. When scrolling through TikTok, millions of people have found incredibly odd videos using a Minion AI filter on footage of horrific events. These TikToks contain cartel videos, war footage, executions, massacres, or even in some cases, CSAM footage. These videos have been absolutely perplexing for the majority of people who've stumbled across them, but despite their graphic material, the like count on these videos is incredibly high, with many people in the comments praising the videos for how funny they are and how they want to see more. This is and was incredibly shocking upon discovery, especially because the majority of these videos kept the sound from the original, so you'd still be hearing the gunshots and the screaming. What's even worse is that in most cases, many of the comments expressing their confusion and disgust clearly came from children, since TikTok is a platform primarily used by younger people. If this wasn't bad enough, many of the comments are asking for the source of the videos. This alone wouldn't be too big of an issue, since naturally people are going to be curious and try to find this sort of thing. But what makes it an issue is the fact that in many cases, the links and or search terms are being provided to these people, giving them easy access to some of the most horrific things that humanity has to offer. I'm sure you're wondering how these videos are even made, how they skirt the algorithm. Well, luckily, I can definitively answer one of those things. These videos are all made using a generative AI software by the name of Runway. Runway is a pretty impressive program, since unlike other generative AI software, you can use the software to fully change pre-existing footage. It's incredibly easy to do. All you need to do is pay for the software, upload your clip, and give a prompt. Initially, prompts like turn everything into minions were used, which led to the TikToks that you see now. I tried this immediately upon discovering this rabbit hole, and it generated this horrific thing out of a Polybius skit. Now, what's interesting is that since this horrific trend has become widespread, Runway blacklisted the word minion in an attempt to stop people from producing these videos. If you couldn't already tell, I will not be showing you any of the actual snuff videos. Rather, I'll be using innocent footage that I took using a Nerf gun. The results are hard to tell apart from the real thing. There's something very deeply disturbing about the way that these videos come out. I showed people the footage that I turned into the Minion AI stuff, and everyone had a very guttural response of hatred towards it. There's something so uncanny and wrong about it. And when you have that layered over people losing their lives, while you hear the results of their final moments, it's nothing short of dystopian. In many cases, you can still see people's outlines, where their blood would be, among many other incredibly disturbing details that just are barely covered up by the repulsive little minion filter. Throughout my career on the internet, I've had to research and watch a lot of really disturbing stuff. Some things that, to this day, haven't left my mind. But this by far is the worst. It's a disgusting mockery of people who've lost their lives, a disrespectful display of their final moments masked and made into entertainment. It's disturbing on a level that very few things are, and its widespread reach makes it even worse. A question that's likely on everyone's mind is, where did these videos come from? Who started uploading them, and why? Well, the truth is hard to find, but I do have some leads. Since I was made aware of this so early on, I was able to find many of the original uploads. I quickly discovered that the vast majority of the original accounts posting these videos came from Russia. This coincided with them uploading body cam footage of the Ukraine war, of course with the minion filter on it. Many of these accounts have since been taken down, but since they were all uploaded in such a short period of time, it led some to think that many of them were run by the same person or people. But what about the intent? Despite its seemingly impossible to comprehend nature, I've come up with some theories. The first and most obvious is shock. For some reason, people derive joy from sending unassuming people traumatizing content. For some, it's in the nature of a prank to someone that they know. To some, it's kind of weaponized. They use these videos to intentionally disturb and mentally harm people. This could be the reason that people are spreading these videos. On that same note, it could have something to do with finding the material funny. Many of the comments on these videos are expressing humor with the clips, contextualizing them in innocent ways. For example, if there's a video of a shooting or something like that, people will comment or caption the videos like, "Jolly Minion spreads joy to local church," or something along those lines. To further explain the appeal of shock videos is a friend of the channel, Dire Trip. Take it away.
Shock content has been a thing since basically the inception of the internet. Shock websites have been around since the early to mid-90s, showcasing all manner of violence, gore, and even weird pornography. These consisted of everything from real-life war footage to weird, edited images of bowel movements and stuff. Rotten.com is infamously one of the first sites like this to ever blow up, pulling in hundreds of thousands of hits at a time when very few people were even on the internet in comparison to today. People viewed these websites for all sorts of reasons, whether it was to trick their friends into traumatizing themselves or even for their own arousal. It's safe to say that the biggest reason that this content gets viewed is for one simple reason, something that all humans share to a degree: morbid curiosity. They exist for the same reason that people can't resist rubbernecking at a car accident. We have this voice in our brain that refuses to believe that something this horrible can actually exist, and in turn we can't resist verifying it. Most people don't even enjoy this content. There's just some weird part in the back of our brains that gets drawn to it to some degree, even if only for a quick glance. The shock websites really grew out of control in the late 2000s and early 2010s when they started to host this content as if it were some sort of cinematic event. It got to the point where they were showing videos and recorded live streams of murders immediately after they had happened, almost as if they were giving these crazed criminals a platform where they could televise their crimes. While journalism around these sorts of crimes has always existed, it was always presented through a lens of the act being wrong. Rather than show why it was wrong, the criminals were able to showcase their brutal murders in a way that they wanted, not in a way that was appropriate. For example, BestScore.com was known for hosting a good number of these videos. When Luca Magnotta went berserk and killed a man on camera, he uploaded the video online shortly after. BestScore quickly became the go-to place for this video, called One Lunatic, One Ice Pick at the time, and it went viral shortly after. As if this wasn't enough, when they were still embroiled in controversy over hosting this one, they continued to host other high-profile videos, such as recordings of the Christchurch shooting livestream. A lot of these sites started getting hit with various legal charges, usually either for obscenity or for corruption of morals. After a while, with the constant legal battles and a very small pool of advertisers willing to put ads on their websites, most of them shut down entirely as it just wasn't worth the hemorrhaging money and increasing effort. However, it wasn't like these videos were going to vanish overnight after having been a staple of the internet since the beginning. All that changed was how they were spread. They moved to subreddits that dodged bans, private forums, Telegram groups, and well, even stranger places as well. They have taken up a home on Instagram Instagram Reels and on TikTok. Given the sheer amount of videos uploaded to these platforms, they have infamously abysmal moderation. Thanks to this, people have gotten away with posting these videos on there to some degree, sometimes even offering links to the full videos in the comments. As time has gone on, people have started to post these videos in even stranger ways in order to get past moderation. For example, on Instagram Reels, it's pretty common for people to impose text that says something along the lines of "Don't worry, nobody was harmed" on videos with obviously pretty grim conclusions. Or, as in the case of today's video, they simply just warp the content into something else.
Before we continue to the rest of the video, I need to quickly thank the sponsor that helped make this all possible. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Working on a video of this nature isn't the easiest thing in the world. Delving into legitimately harmful and disturbing media takes a toll, and sometimes it's very hard to motivate. However, something that has assisted me throughout this process is today's sponsor, 5CBD. 5CBD is a unique brand that offers full-spectrum CBD products in a 5-to-1 ratio. 5 parts CBD, 1 part minor cannabinoid. All 5CBD products are made in the USA from authentic US-grown hemp. 5CBD has you covered with a variety of options, such as Surge, a blue raspberry sativa blend. This gummy has personally helped me lock in and focus on research and editing, as it's given me a boost of motivation and, in my experience, increased focus. Then there's Chill, an indica blend that helps you sleep after witnessing machine-made horrors beyond your comprehension. And then there's Vibes, which is a perfect mix of the two. 5CBD ensures top quality, with third-party testing. These gummies are safe, reliable, and incredibly effective. Not only that, but they're also affordable. But they can be made even more affordable if you go down to the link in the description. Get a free sample pack from 5. Just pay shipping. Must be 21+. Thank you. A theory that I've seen some people suggest is that these videos are uploaded as a way to desensitize people to these awful events. They're seeing and hearing them, but in the form of a bizarre mockery, giving it some level of suspension of disbelief. I've also heard some people suggest that these videos are essentially run by a ring of people who are distributing gore and CSAM content to each other through means of these comment sections in these videos. Some of the worst examples that I saw in my research that have kind of continued to haunt me was a TikTok showing a Minion-fied video of someone getting assassinated in front of their family. The children screaming and crying as their deformed depictions moved frantically. This was disturbing on such a deep level. Experiencing an event that has traumatized everyone involved and hearing it all unfold is something that I don't wish upon anybody. The other video that I found on TikTok was equally as horrific, but in a different way. The video seemed to portray a little boy with no clothes on. Thankfully, it was hard to make out because of the Minion filter, but upon seeing it, I immediately knew something was very, very off. After checking the comments, my fear was confirmed, as many of the comments were claiming that this video was indeed illegal content of a child. I really hope that those people in the comments were lying, but unfortunately, judging by what you could see on the screen, that didn't seem to be the case. Of course, without any confirmation, we can't say anything definitively. In the event that it was indeed what I thought it was, it's a terrible idea to be saving that sort of thing. Now, on the bright side, this video and hundreds of others have been taken off of TikTok. Within a week of this controversy beginning, a couple of YouTubers started quickly throwing together videos to break news in the whole rabbit hole, which seemed to have worked in helping get some of them removed, as more and more people became aware of it and wanted to hunt it down and report them. This is a fantastic thing, but unfortunately many of these videos still remain on TikTok and can be found with little to no effort. I'm sure many of you already see this coming, but unfortunately, it doesn't end with TikTok. These Minion videos have been spread to other platforms like Twitter and mainly Instagram Reels, where many of these original AI Minion videos have been reposted by edgy meme accounts. The Ronnie McNutt video, as mentioned earlier, has been uploaded multiple times through different iteration, while many of the other most offending examples have found their home on the platform as well. There are also variations of this trend using offensive or crude memes with the Minion filter, such as the iconic Incredible Gassy. Now, looking at the comments from these Instagram reposts, people are directly commenting links to the gore videos upon request. So I'm sure the question many of you are wondering is, where do we go from here? Well, unlike many of the other cases that I've covered, the platform hosting this content, mainly TikTok, are putting an effort into removing the offending videos. Runway is attempting to stop the creation of them by means of completely flagging anything that has to do with Minions or Despicable Me, and heavily limiting any sort of cartoon-related prompts. This isn't a perfect fix, as Runway software inherently can lead to this footage being made, but it is a good step in preventing having childlike-looking videos actually be awful. While this issue seems to be taken care of, it's absolutely not the last time that we see something like this on the internet. The issue isn't particularly the platform, but more so how new and unregulated AI-generated media is. Not only that, but the algorithms that pick up content that violates community guidelines aren't really trained for AI, so much more can slip through the cracks than what would get picked up otherwise. What we need to do is come together and report this type of content when it appears, spread awareness, and warn others. Because people can be genuinely harmed by this kind of content. AI is only going to keep getting better and better and better, and there's nothing that we can really do to stop that. But we also have the power to take a stand and let the platforms know that we're not going to accept this content. Especially not our home platform of YouTube. At first, YouTube seemed to be fully clear. My perception was that their algorithm was just better at picking this sort of thing up, but unfortunately that doesn't seem to be the case. There's now a YouTube channel by the name of Minion AI that posts some of the most horrific and disgusting clips you can find with these Minion videos. Now, this alone would be one thing, but what makes it more disturbing is that in each video the OP comments a link to the source. Now, this is a Telegram link, and generally Telegram links shouldn't be trusted, as a lot of really disturbing stuff has been hosted there. If you do decide to click on this link, it'll send you to a Telegram page by the name of Teleshock. Now, Teleshock is a Russian account, as is the YouTube channel. However, when translated, you can very clearly see what's going on here. Hell, the profile picture is the Telegram logo covered in blood, and the description reads, "All applications are accepted immediately. All content strictly 18+. Everything is taken from open source. We do not call anything." Now, call me a bad journalist, but I didn't make a Telegram account and join this channel. But, using context clues, I think it's pretty clear what's hosted on here. This YouTube channel is most likely directly linking people to snuff videos. This absolutely must be taken down. I've reported the channel, and I implore you to do the same. But for your own sake, don't watch the videos hosted on it. Just report and leave. There's a very specific sort of look to the IPs and franchises that become victims of Elsagate content farms. They're bright, easily recognizable, and child-friendly looking. It's an unfortunate reality that if you make something like an indie game or animation that gets popular and your characters happen to look child-friendly, you're unfortunately very likely to soon see your characters and art be twisted and corrupted by bad actors trying to make a quick buck off your work. A fantastic example of this happening, and the absurd extreme results of it, is SPRUNKI. You may be familiar with a video game by the name of Incredibox. If you're not, essentially, it's a little music creation game where you have a bunch of little guys and assign them to do different beatboxing roles. There are a bunch of options, so you can end up creating some pretty cool stuff. You're probably also familiar with Scratch. Scratch is a coding language that's made for kids, and I'm sure many people who grew up in the 2010s have tried to use Scratch, or at least are familiar with the little cat mascot guy. Surprisingly enough, you can make some really advanced stuff in Scratch, which is shocking considering how simple it seems as an outsider. Regardless, an example of a really impressive Scratch project is something you may be familiar with, and that is SPRUNKI. Created by a user named NyankoBFLol, the game was released in August of 2024 and was essentially a unique spin on Incredibox. Instead of the beats being little icons, they're full-blown characters. The creator of this game was only 14, which is incredibly impressive, as it's very polished and well-made. Here's the thing. There's a winning formula when it comes to success with children's-oriented content in the 2020s, and that's a term that you're probably familiar with: mascot horror. Mascot horror is the name given to media that features once innocent-looking child-friendly characters who end up being evil and scary. This genre of horror was spawned by the success of Five Nights at Freddy's, but has since surpassed that, with many mascot horror franchises becoming fully mainstream and popular. I don't know what specifically it is, but this kind of horror just tickles a child's brain in a way that few other things can. But why do I bring that up? Well, despite SPRUNKI looking like a cute little Incredibox clone, when selecting the hat icon, the game becomes this. I honestly believe that this is way cooler than the majority of mascot horror games, as it's actually creative and there are some pretty cool visuals here. There was some messiness with the game, as it got taken down a couple times and switched websites here and there, but eventually it found its home on a website called Incredimake, which was dedicated to Incredibox mods. Throughout this, SPRUNKI began to absolutely blow up, and before we knew it, became a part of Elsagate. Tons of garbage content was made to profit off kids who don't know any better, like channels who explain the game's lore. There is none. Using obviously AI-generated scripts and editing. And of course, weird, inappropriate, and fetishistic videos have been made using SPRUNKI characters. It's insane that these people take this and make it sexual. Something I've spoken about before is how weird I find it that whenever there's a female character of any capacity, people will take it upon themselves to immediately sexualize her to no end, even if she looks like, well, you know, this. I've seen videos very clearly marketed towards children of these characters nearly naked, stuck in compromising positions, and debatably worse of all, engaging in extremely fetishistic actions. When looking up SPRUNKI on YouTube, you'll immediately find fetishistic material after scrolling for like 5 seconds. Many of these are in the form of shorts, like the Teensy Crew, which uploads videos on whatever kids are interested in at the moment. Their main shtick used to be using sexualized depictions of the Alliance girls from Skibidi Toilet, but it seems that's just not what children yearn for anymore. The channel is somewhat unique in that their videos use paper cutouts of the characters, who are moved around by someone's hand. These videos are egregiously sexual, with all of the female characters having boobs that weren't there in their original design. I also found inflation fetish videos, bondage, a male character putting used dirty underwear in his face, really weird pregnancy videos, scat videos, and a bunch of videos where they use like Play-Doh, balloons, or stress balls as body parts. For example, there are videos that give the characters breasts, which are then squeezed and caressed, or videos using a balloon to depict a character's stomach being inflated. That's not even all of it, but I think you've seen enough. Channels like this are everywhere, and are so incredibly reprehensible and disgusting. Unlike the Cat AI channels and other Elsagate shit, these people don't even claim that their videos are made for adults or anything like that. They're just directly uploading sexual fetishistic material for really young kids to watch. It's so wrong on so many levels, and this is just straight up exploitation of innocence and curiosity. This issue's so bad that when you look at the first 20 videos that come up after searching SPRUNKI, 10 of those 20 are sexual Elsagate style videos. Keep in mind that these channels are using characters and imagery that belongs to a literal child, which just makes it so much worse. Not only that, but the creator has seen zero profit from any of this, leading to there being literally no benefit to any of this. The poor guy was targeted and hacked, leading to his Discord and Scratch to be hacked. The hacker then deleted his Discord server, which is just incredibly unfortunate and wrong. From what I've heard as well, he's also been a victim of doxing all over SPRUNKI. He has since abandoned SPRUNKI, which I completely understand. Yet his creation continues to still be used for some of the worst kids content on the platform. I encourage you to all go out and report this content. It absolutely violates YouTube's terms of service in multiple ways, and serves nothing but to harm these kids. Like stated earlier, consuming this kind of content at a young age can and will affect the youth later on in life. Some ways are more intense than others. I don't want kids to develop fetishes that they resent. All of this reminds me of my research into the victims of Kphoria content. For those unfamiliar, Kphoria is an animator who makes vor videos using children's characters, vor being a fetish based around eating people whole, the following large stomach being of heavy focus. For whatever reason, the YouTube algorithm loved these videos back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, leading to thousands of young children to watch them, usually finding them when searching for videos of their favorite cartoon characters or video game characters like Sonic or Mario. I spoke to and was reached out to by a lot of people who had developed a liking for vor as the years have gone by, which for many of these people is a fetish that they deeply resent and wish that they didn't have. It's incredibly clear to me now that this is exactly what's going to happen with the children of today who watch this Elsagate content. Whether it's Skibidi Toilet, SPRUNKI, Amazing Digital Circus, or whatever next big brain rot thing it is, it's clear that this is not stopping anytime soon, unless we do something about it. Unless we say something about the exploitation of children and spread the word further and further. But unfortunately, it's not over yet. Those who've been following the resurgence of Elsagate over the past few years are likely familiar with the odd NSFW playlists that can be found using seemingly innocent search terms. The first time around, it was discovered that using the term "Hey Arnold" full episodes and then going into playlists would net you tons of fully NSFW playlists and videos and channels, and it was incredibly strange. These playlists would show up when looking up any variety of somewhat obscure older cartoons full episodes, and most of the playlists and channels were made by Vietnamese accounts. However, after a while, this whole entire thing was solved. Turns out that these playlists and the accounts were all made as a view phishing scheme. Essentially, the sexy video would be 1 to 2 seconds long, which would then autoplay to the video that the OP was actually responsible for, right? So they'd click on the sexy playlist, see that for a second, and then see some cooking video or tech repair or something along those lines. Now, this issue is still a thing, unfortunately. However, YouTube has actually taken some action against it, thanks to people like us talking about this. However, it has recently been discovered that an even worse search term exists, and nobody even knows about it yet. But if you look up Hora de Antojar onto YouTube, you'll find hundreds of animated NSFW videos, some of which are more explicit than the others. The biggest channel who uses uses this name and comes up first when you look it up, has over 9.12 thousand subscribers, which already is insane, and has been around since December of 2024, which at the time of writing is about 3 months. And the thing is that this channel is absolutely baffling. The clips that it posts are fully uncensored, like it is straight up hentai, just on YouTube, completely. Obviously, it's not an uncommon thing for NSFW material to be uploaded onto YouTube, but generally it gets caught pretty quickly. Now, all the videos on this channel are age restricted, but still, they're getting recommended to people. They have a lot of views, and the amount of subscribers that the channel has is completely baffling. And what makes it worse is that some of these videos use characters who are teenagers. There's one of Ahsoka Tano in her outfit from where, in canon, when she wore that, she was 13 to 14 years old. And then you see Hatsune Miku there as well, who I believe is like 16. But here's the thing, that's only the tip of the iceberg here. The search term directly translates to time to crave. However, that direct translation isn't necessarily what it means. Essentially, it means horny time. The majority of the videos that you'll see when you look this up are the very classic "the joke is porn" videos. Never has been funny, never will be. Only most of the time these memes cut away from the explicit material once it's about to show up. However, in these, they just straight up show it, which is shocking, but it's just how it is. But it gets so much worse when you search by channels. When doing this, you'll find multiple channels who have genitalia straight up as their profile pictures. Clear as day. Men, women, both. And oftentimes these channels will have a Discord in their About page or in a community tab. Oftentimes they don't actually upload any videos, no memes, no cropped hentai, nothing. Just their body part and their contact information. It's shocking because they're not censored at all. Like, there are profile pictures and banners and all these things that are just straight up genitalia right there on YouTube for anyone to find. And the fact that they're trying to exchange information with people is concerning. Don't look this up. Don't go out and try to report it. I'm putting this in here because I want someone from YouTube to see this and to take action, because they can't be letting this happen. This is insane. It's shocking and disgusting and disheartening. And I beg that YouTube does something about it. I want to warn you that in this next segment there's discussion of some pretty disturbing things, as if, you know, that hasn't already been the case. But there's a YouTube rabbit hole that contains a lot of child abuse, and it will be discussed, but nothing will be shown. But you've been warned now. Something that many of us fail to realize is that YouTube is much bigger than any of us even know. There are so many parts of YouTube from other countries whose content style and presentation is very different from what we see here in the West, and the overall English-speaking world. In Bittersnake's video that brought the AI cat controversy to light, he commits a segment to a strange YouTube channel that he found while doing research on the cat AI stuff. This channel was named Orphan Baby. This channel is from Vietnam and heavily featured a lot of footage of babies and children in distress. Many other thumbnails depicted a little boy getting hurt. In a lot of these videos, there's a young boy who can't be older than 2 years old in an extreme amount of distress, as his older sister abuses and hurts him. And the older sister can't be older than like 7 years old or something like that. These videos often featured a bit of a formula. They'd start with the kid getting hurt, and then that older sister going out and working. She goes out into the fields with a machete or a sickle and a makeshift harvesting bag. So the girl would go out, use her harvesting tool to pick up usually plants and fruit of value, oftentimes using this very sharp tool in her hands to cut open the fruit or to harvest something. The girl herself is covered in bruises and is incredibly dirty and malnourished looking, and you can only imagine how her life is when the cameras are off. If it was just this one channel, that alone would be insane. But it's not. In what feels like a new iteration of full stop punctuation, if you look up the word orphan, just orphan, as the time of writing in this video, you will find hundreds of videos that portray very similar things to what I just described. To be clear, this is often when you go into playlists or more recent. This whole other side of YouTube opens up, and it's completely shocking. Almost all of these channels and videos are tagged with the word How-Ki. Now, what does that mean? How-Ki translates directly to USA. Now, this tag is most likely used as a way to get these videos to be shown to American audiences, and we'll get more into that later. When looking at videos from Single Dad Life, Mother 18 Orphan, or simply Orphans, and many other similarly named channels, you'll find that the majority of these videos have thumbnails that depict a child in a horrific situation. In some of them, the child is drowning. Others, they're laying on the floor with a blood puddle near their head. And in many of them, they're being abused by an older child. I wish it was a matter of clickbait. I wish that it ended at these thumbnails, but No. When clicking on the videos, you'll find pretty much exactly what you see on the thumbnails, and it's just as bad as you think it is. Hearing the cries of pain coming from these innocent young children who have done nothing wrong is genuinely one of the most disheartening and disturbing things that I've found on YouTube as of late. And the persistence of it, and how many children are involved in this, is heartbreaking in a way that not many things are. You often never see the parents, because they're off screen. They're behind the camera, letting this all happen, and in most cases giving directions to the children, as they often look behind the camera for some sort of cue. One of, if not the worst clip that I found while doing the research was a video of a little boy being abused by his older sister. It gets to the point where he's just on the floor, crying in pain. While this is happening, the boy, screaming and crying, sends out an outstretched hand to the person who's behind the camera, looking at them with so much fear and confusion in his eyes. You can't really say anything for sure, but this is most likely the kid's mom or dad behind the camera letting this happen. And it's disturbing on such a deep level. Even in videos that aren't that violent, these babies and children are often sat next to incredibly dangerous material. There are knives and farming tools that are just there on the floor in really, really close proximity to a little kid. This is child abuse. This is exploitation, and there's no way around that. Not only is this all morally reprehensible and disgusting, but it's also against YouTube's terms of service. And despite that, many of these channels are monetized. And that right there explains the entire point of why any of these videos exist. They are purely made for money. These videos are filmed in very impoverished parts of Vietnam, evidently in areas where child labor seems to be commonplace. And so since these people are living in such impoverished areas, they have seemingly found their way out. The American dollar that Google would pay is to them a huge amount of money, but they've decided to go about it in the worst way you could. But here's the thing, that's not the only type of video that comes out of this part of Vietnam, and it's not even close. There are hundreds of channels who upload similar videos that don't include the child abuse. They have actors, I suppose, who are adults, or at least teenagers, and seem to be consenting into doing these videos. And there's no issue in that. Not in the slightest. That's completely fine. Bittersnake has been a monumentally important person in terms of covering and exposing this rabbit hole. After the release of his video, YouTube is letting these channels slide. The Orphan Baby channel was issued 2 strikes and proceeded to take all of their content down. But in the process, YouTube went and age-restricted Bittersnake's video, despite it being heavily censored. So clearly, those videos have been watched by a YouTube employee, and some action has been taken. But at the end of the day, it's really just not enough. And here's the thing, I would not be surprised if this video right here also gets demonetized or age restricted. I don't want it to, I want as many people as possible to see this, but inevitably, judging by what we've spoken about, it's a very big possibility. So in the event that this video is being manually reviewed by a YouTube employee to see whether or not it should be demonetized, I'm speaking directly to you. This is my plea for help. I ask you, please take a look at what's been discussed here today. I'm trying to get this stuff to be well known so someone can actually take action. And if you have the ability to take action and do something about these channels, please do. You have far more power in helping the youth than any of us do. So even a small investigation into what's been discussed could be monumental. If you can somehow let the higher-ups know and have somebody take action, it could help actually fix things, or at least start to fix things. I don't make this video to be anti-YouTube. I don't make this video to slander the company or give it bad PR. I adore YouTube. I have been using YouTube since I was a little kid. I've been making YouTube videos since I was a little kid. I want to see it be the best platform that it can be. And unfortunately, right now, it's simply not. I've only scratched the surface of Elsagate 3.0, as unfortunately, it does go deeper than just this. Listen to me. I've been advocating for the defense of the future for over 2 years now. And while over the years we have had some victories in getting things taken down and bringing awareness, as we can tell today, it's simply not enough. I abhor this part of the process completely. It makes the entire point feel insincere, but ultimately a good way of spreading the word and spreading awareness is to signal boost this video, and if you have a platform, to cover the things that I've spoken about now. Of course, when it comes to signal boosting, the YouTube algorithm likes what it likes. So, engagement, subscription, commenting, liking, whatever that means. Getting this video to be seen by as many people possible might actually help a lot in getting some of this stuff removed. And if you are in a position to spread the word yourself, feel free to talk about anything discussed today, feel free to reach out to me, anything, just as long as the word is spread. And together we might be able to actually make a change on this platform for the better. Most of the discourse surrounding defending the future looks at the victims as just children. And while yes, they are children now, they won't be forever. And here's the thing, protecting the innocence and purity of a child is of utmost importance, but we also need to consider the long-term effects of watching this content. These children are going to lead our world. These will be our future politicians, scientists, doctors, everything. So at least from my perspective, it's of utmost importance that their brains don't get totally f***ed up in their youth. As of 2025, Generation Alpha ends and Generation Beta begins. And while generational levels are somewhat superfluous, it is important to note that Generation Beta will mostly be the children of Gen Z. This worries me, but it also gives me some hope. Gen Z on a very wide scale has seen the dangers of unmoderated internet access for little kids. But the question is, will this knowledge actually apply to parenting? Of course, many individuals will use this knowledge, but I'm more so talking on a wider scale. Will iPad babies just continue to be a thing, or will we reach a point in which a parent would think twice about putting a glowing rectangle with all the information in the world in front of their 2-year-old kid? I can't answer that question, but I really deeply hope that we learn from Gen Alpha, and that we learn from what's been happening over the past 15 years. I'm going to imagine that many of you watching this video are Generation Z. For those of us who aren't parents, and feel as though we have no power in this situation, my advice to you is to spread the word and report what you see. I deeply hope that you found this video helpful, and I hope that you all join me in the fight against this filth. Thank you to the people over on Patreon. $5 a month helps fund this research and gets you uncensored and ad-free videos. With that, I've been Raymundo 2112. You've been a great audience, and it's time for us to make a change.